Well, hello and welcome, Power Partners. This is our informational playground. It's Starstyle, Be the Star You Are, coming on the airwaves under the auspices of Be the Star You Are charity. I am your host, Cynthia Brian, and we're on Voice America Media. This is the Empowerment Channel. Today's show is all about edible superstitions and the Halloween garden because this is Halloween week. It's the spooky time of the year, so why not look at edible superstitions from around the world? I mean, is spilling salt a bad omen? Why do candles decorate a birthday cake? If you put 13 people at a dinner table, is the evening going to be a failure? Well, you got to stay tuned to find out. And in segment two, we decorate for Halloween with creepy crawlies and spiders and bats. As much as people fear insects, though, scientists are concerned about their decline, and carnivorous plants also depend on insects to survive. So, I'm going to tell you, as the goddess gardener, what is happening in nature and what you can do this month and probably for the next few weeks. The Miracle Moment brought to you by Be the Star You Are charity. You can visit the website bethestaryouare.org. And this is from L.M. Montgomery, who wrote Anne of Green Gables. I am so glad I live in a world where there are Octobers. And that makes me happy because this is kind of October is a special time. Now, before I start into segment one with the global food superstitions, I just wanted to read a very short poem. You probably know it. It's called First They Came. It's by Pastor Martin Niemöller, and it's attributed to him. He was a German Lutheran pastor who was initially a supporter of Hitler, but later became an opponent and was actually imprisoned in a concentration camp for years. And the poem just really describes the systematic persecution of different groups during the Nazi regime. So the central theme is the danger of apathy and silence in the face of injustice. So it's a real powerful warning that when people fail to stand up for one another who are being persecuted, that persecutions will eventually reach them and there'll be nobody left to defend them. And I have to say, just looking at what is happening in America today, as well as around the world, I really think that this poem is relevant. And I wanted to bring it to your attention because it's a real call to action against injustice in any form, from civil rights to human rights to immigrants' rights to we got to prevent atrocities, and we have to do it through a collective action. So this is called First They Came. First, they came for the communists, and I did not speak out because I was not a communist. Then they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the union trade unionists. I didn't speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews. I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. And then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak out for me. So I just want you to think about it and just think about how love our neighbors as ourselves. And when we see an injustice, we have to speak out because we're all in this together. So now to something more fun because this is a fun a show today, and these are just some global food superstitions. And we all take part in culinary superstitions and folk food practices, and some are so common that we don't even think about them. But I was just reading an article about some of the most intriguing food and drink related practices and superstitions from around the globe. And I thought, perfect timing for this Halloween festivity. So, first of all, probably heard in Roman folklore, if you find two yolks and one egg, that foretold the birth of twins and or a pending marriage. In Europe, starting in the Roman Empire and continuing up until the 16th century, it was believed that witches could sail in eggshells through storms and they could sink ships. So to prevent this, sailors would smash the cells and they would prohibit bringing eggs on board altogether. Now, I raise chickens, as I've told you before. I've raised them since the age of 8, and very often I will get two eggs, two yolks in an egg, and I have never had twins. Nor have I had a witch that's gone with me. One time I actually got three yolks, so that's kind of interesting. Gifting a knife could end a relationship. Now, this is according to Chinese lore. Gifting a knife to a friend could sever your relationship. So, to avoid the risk of cutting ties, you want to give your friend a coin so they can buy the knife that you'd like to present them. Now, that doesn't make any sense. I know a lot of people getting married, they ask for these fancy knives because knives are so expensive. So, giving them a coin doesn't seem to really work. But of course, we don't want to sever any friendships. All right. I do always think about this one though, because I have garlic. I eat a lot of garlic and I hang garlic. So, does garlic repel evil spirits? Well, thanks to Dracula, garlic's reputation for warding off vampires is really popular in the culture. It is also believed to repel other spirits and demons. And in Greece, braids of garlic are often seen hanging over the entrances of homes, restaurants, and stores to stave off the evil spirits. And I do hang a braid of garlic. I grow garlic. And the only thing I think that maybe I ward off is when I eat so much garlic, unless you've eaten garlic, you probably don't want to be around. All right. The next one is also Chinese, and it is about noodles promising a long life. In a tradition that dates back to the Han Dynasty, birthdays, anniversaries, and Chinese New Year celebrations call for eating longevity noodles, and that's for good luck, prosperity, and a long life. Now, if you cut the noodles, either with your teeth or a knife, that means you're cutting your life short. So you have to just slurp those noodles up. I don't know. I think slurping's kind of fun, so that might be good. All right, the spilled salt one. Where everybody talks about, if you spill salt, it's a bad omen. And several cultures do this. They throw spilled salt over their left shoulder, and this is to ward off the evil spirits again. And in ancient Rome, salt was considered a good omen for friendship on account of its preservative properties. So you think about that. Salt is a preservative. And if you gifted salt to a new homeowner, it's considered a blessing in Scotland. Now, in Slavic and some non-Slavic countries, bread and salt serve as a welcome offering. The bread's a sign of respect, and the salt represents longevity. So you could give bread and salt, and maybe that will be considered a blessing. What about parsley? I grow lots of parsley. I love it because it's a perennial where I am. It actually represents the underworld. And according to the lore, parsley's slow germination, because it can take 6 weeks longer than basil or rosemary, is explained by a story that the seeds take a trip to hell, then they come back, and then they sprout from the soil. So among the ancient Greeks and Romans, this story led to an association with the underworld. The Greeks thought that the herb grew from the blood of a baby. Ugh. Um, Ophiuchus, who is called the harbinger of death, who was killed by a snake. They would also decorate tombs and wreaths made from parsley. And the Romans related the herb with the goddess Persephone, and we would know that she was the queen of the underworld. Also, in medieval Europe, parsley was associated with demonic forces as represented by the parsley spirit. I had never heard of that, but if a young lady gave away parsley, she would be unlucky in love. And if she stole a sprig from another's garden, she could regain the love. And that makes no sense to me. In England, it was taboo to transplant parsley, and because that was an act that was said to spread misfortune. So it's interesting how so many of these wives' tales, take root. Okay, this one comes from southern Italy, and this is chilies. Do chilies protect you? The chilies, a red chili pepper is worn as a necklace. It's like a talisman, and it is carried around your neck, to protect against the evil eye. And perhaps because of the visibility similar to other peppers, strings of fresh chilies can be found hanging from doorways and balconies throughout the Mezzogiorno. Now, similarly, in India, 7 green chilies and a lemon are tied together and hung in the doorways of homes and businesses to ward off the evil spirits and bring forth good luck. I actually saw that when I was in India. Now, what about tortillas? What does that mean? Could it mean wedding bells? When a corn tortilla puffs during the cooking process, it is a sign that the dough is adequately hydrated. But it's also thought to foretell a wedding in Mexican culture. Now, if a flour tortilla puffs up, it's believed that your mother-in-law holds you in high esteem. So, hmm, I don't know if that's a good one or what. You always want your mother-in-law to like you, that's for sure. Now, what about candles? All right. I love this one because I think everybody who celebrates a birthday puts candles on a birthday cake. Now, that tradition of making a wish and blowing out the candles on your birthday cake comes from the Greeks offering round cakes decorated with torches that resembled a luminous full moon to Artemis, which is the goddess of the moon and hunt. And a little side there, I don't know if you know that the name Cynthia, my name, it is the other name for it is Artemis, and that is the goddess of the moon and hunt. So Cynthia is also known as the goddess of the moon. During the Middle Ages, the German tradition of Kinderfest, which is like a child's festival, it popularized candles on birthdays. So, on a birthday, a child was thought to be more vulnerable to evil spirits. Here we go again with the evil spirits. So, a candle that was called the Lebenslicht, which means the light of life, was burned throughout the day. And then after the evening meal, the child made a wish before blowing out the candle and just before slicing and eating the cake, while the smoke was believed to transport the child's intentions to heaven. And the tradition spread throughout Europe and eventually made its way to the United States, of course, with the immigrants coming from Germany. So that's why we blow candles out on our birthday cake. Now, if you got married, they don't really do this too much anymore, but I know when I got married, they did it. They threw rice at the wedding. Supposedly, that was to heed fertility, and that's an ancient Roman, wife's tale. Such grains of wheat or oats or rice were thrown onto newlyweds after a wedding ceremony to predict fertility, prosperity, and good fortune. And eventually, it was rice that became the most popular grain to throw. These days, then they started throwing bird seed because the rice, they didn't like that the birds were eating the rice. But then the problem with bird seed thrown was that a lot of the seeds sprouted into weeds, and so people didn't like that. So a lot of weddings don't throw anything anymore, but that was the earlier thing. And now, exactly 12 grapes should be eaten at midnight. This is Spanish and throughout Latin America. On New Year's Eve, it is customary to eat exactly 12 grapes during the last 12 seconds before the stroke of midnight because each grape represents 1 month and eating them represents hope and prosperity and good luck throughout the new year. So that one was a good one, and grapes are so good for you. So maybe think about doing this one. Now, I talked about 13 people at a table being bad luck. That there's fear of the number 13, and that's not reserved for Friday the 13th only. I love the number 13, but some say this superstition stems from the Last Supper because Judas, the apostle who betrayed Jesus, was believed to be the 13th guest. Now, another origin tale comes from the Norse religion, where there were 12 gods. They held a feast in Valhalla that included Balder, that's the god of light, and Hoder, the god of darkness and winter. However, Loki, who is the Norseman's trickster god, arrived to the party uninvited, and he made it the number 13 of guests. And then Loki tricked Hoder into slaying Balder, an event that foretold the end of the world. Isn't this fun? I love all this stuff. Okay, the last one I'm going to share with you. If you ever, have a whole chicken or a turkey, did you fight over the wishbone? In our family, we always fought over the wishbone. Now, wishbone is meant to be broken in half, and the custom of breaking a wishbone in half originated with the Etruscans, who considered chickens fortuitous and even kept them in temples. And when a sacred chicken died, the wishbone would be removed, dried, and stored on an altar for worshipers to touch it and to make a wish. So they didn't break it, they just touched it. But historians speculate that people fought over these religious relics, which eventually led to the breaking the bones in two. So, breaking the wishbone came to the point of the practice that the person with the larger piece would have their wish granted. And if the bone broke into equal halves, both individuals would get their wish. And this belief, of course, made it to jolly old England, where the bone was called a merry thought, and eventually it came to the United States, where I know my family did it and we still do it. Well, that's just some of the fun global superstitions. And hopefully you can talk about some of these this weekend and on Halloween. You're listening to Cynthia Brian. This is Star Style. Be the star you are. We're going to have a business bite and then we'll be right back. So don't go away. Do you know how to encourage employees and others? Well, when you want to reinforce good behavior, even if it's your kids, giving praise and rewards activate the neurochemicals like dopamine in our brains, and that plays a critical role in motivation. So, what are some ways to offer recognition to employees? Well, use incentives, obviously, notes, bonuses, gift cards, or you could set an amount of dollars as a great way to offer praise. The next thing is to tell people how wonderful they are and how they contribute to the success of the company. And finally, give public praise. Make announcements, throw a party, add the name to a newsletter, or let others know how much that person is appreciated. You are the star of your own performance. Turn your passions into profits. And this is another business bite from Starstyle. For more information, visit cynthiabrian.com. That's Brian with an I.com. Well, it is fall and we are back, and I really love this time of year. This is Cynthia Brian, and you are listening to Star Style. Be the star you are on Voice America Media, the Empowerment Channel. We're brought to you by Be the Star You Are charity. I like to say, let's fall into autumn. George Eliot wrote, "Delicious autumn. My very soul is wedded to it. And if I were a bird, I would fly about the earth, seeking the successive autumns." Ah, I love it too. I think the weather is just perfect. But what I always think about is frogs and crickets, crickets and frogs. Growing up on our farm in the boondocks, the croaks and chirps were the melodies of the night. In the spring, it was the frogs singing as they searched for mates. And then with the warm temperatures of autumn, it's the crickets, and they increase their chirping to attract mates as they search for safety and food before winter arrives. I've always enjoyed eating al fresco with the calming chorus of the crickets serenading. And of course, as we near a haunted Halloween, our meal is definitely interrupted by the eerie howling of the coyotes, which there are many living in our creeks and canyons here near the farm. Pups born in the spring are getting ready to leave the den of their parents and to establish their own territories. And of course, they want everyone to know that they're on the move. And it is a scary, I don't know, it's creepy, but it's kind of perfect for Halloween. Most of us decorate for Halloween with creepy crawlies, with spiders, bats, and other insects. But as much as people fear insects, scientists are really concerned about their decline. And according to an article in the July-August issue of the Smithsonian, insects are disappearing at a rate of 1 to 2% a year, and that's on a global basis. And that includes bees and butterflies, moths, beetles, bats, flies, ants, and other insects. And these also pollinate three-quarters of the world's flowers and crops. And it is those creepy crawlies that feed the birds, that feed the fish, the fowl, the reptiles, and other insects. And the reality is, without insects, humans wouldn't eat, and that means humans would die. Now, carnivorous plants also depend on insects to survive. You might have heard of the Venus flytrap plant. That has jaw-like leaves with fine trigger hairs that signal the trap to close when an insect arrives. It uses its enzymes to digest them. I know when I was a kid and heard about it, I was afraid that I could fall in, but these are really tiny plants and they really only eat insects. Another predatory plant is the giant pitcher plant, and it lures its victims as large as rats with the scent of its nectar. So even a small bunny could fall in it. Insects and animals fall into the pitcher and they're digested by this acidic liquid. Ugh, it sounds like a very horrifying death. Now, sometimes bird hunt those insects that have landed on the giant pitcher plant. And what happens with the birds? They become the main meal of this giant pitcher plant. And if you want to see pictures of the giant pitcher plant, I want you to just check out my Substack newsletter about this because I have a great picture of one. Now, as you know, it is pumpkin season, and when you carve your favorite jack-o'-lantern, save the seeds and roast them because pumpkin seeds provide fiber and protein and healthy fats. And all you have to do is scrape them from the pumpkin, rinse them well, remove the pulp, and then dry them really thoroughly with the paper towel. Put them on a cookie sheet. You can add a tablespoon of olive oil and maybe a seasoning of your choice. You could put a little salt or even truffle salt if you have it. Bake them at 325 for about 40 minutes, but watch them. Cool them, eat, and enjoy. And, then that way you're using the whole pumpkin. And this might be the final month if you live in a warmer area to enjoy the magic of entertaining outdoors because the rainy season is coming. But if you're going to do that, allow nature to set the scene. Elegance and charm are enhanced by natural backdrops of the changing colors of the leaves, the crisp autumn air, and of course, that chirping of the crickets. What I do for my arrangements is I use grape leaves, branches, acorns, pumpkins, and foraged fall flowers. And you could also bring some of that seasonal beauty indoors. And don't forget to harvest seed pods because that red, orange, and gold autumnal foliage really adds an unexpected element. And I have a few gardening guide tips for autumn because I do find autumn so delicious. So here are some of my guides for what you should do in the next few weeks. Encourage lizards and bats to take up residence. The western fence lizard carries a protein that destroys the Borrelia bacteria that reside in the stomach of ticks, and ticks carry Lyme disease. Bats can eat about 8,000 mosquitoes every night. And other pluses are that lizards eat lots of unwanted garden insects, and bats are also pollinators. So, you know, invite them in. Clean bird baths and fountains and continue adding fresh seed to your bird feeders because as the weather gets drier, there's going to be less food and they're going to start getting hungrier as winter comes. Save the seeds of your best producing flowers and herbs. Drying them and storing them in a dark, cool place is really the easiest way. Now, you have just a short amount of time to refrigerate the bulbs of tulips, hyacinths, and crocus, at least 4 weeks before you plant them. So get them in the refrigerator now so you can plant them through maybe the beginning of December. You can boost your levels of vitamin C. Flu season and COVID and cold season are here, of course, and begin by brewing a homegrown peppercorn tea with rose hips and sage. I pick my ripe red rose hips from my rose bushes. I add red peppercorns from my pepper tree. I smash and grind them. I add them to the teapot with some shaved ginger, lemon rind, lemon juice, sage leaves, and not honey. It's very peppery. It's delicious. It's really good hot or iced. And you can substitute garlic for the honey if you just want to make a broth. And that's really yummy with steamed vegetables. So that's kind of a good way to cook vegetables and give them a little extra flavor. Buy colorful gourds and small pumpkins to brighten your porch or patio, and they can serve as dual holidays with a simple addition of decorative spiders, skeletons, ghouls for Halloween. And then in November, remove the spiders and skeletons and ghouls and just add, a hand-drawn turkey or fall leaves or a pilgrim figurine, and it'll be fun for Thanksgiving. Now, fertilize your lawns and scatter microclover seed as a lawn alternative in addition to your grass. Microclover supports pollinators, it conserves water, it suppresses weeds, and it offers a really lush green cover. Don't forget to feed begonias and roses to encourage more blooms. Harvest the last of your grapes and apples and add those colorful leaves to your tabletop for a spectacular autumn arrangement. Clean patio pads and lounge cushions before storing them for the winter, and you will prevent outdoor furniture from the elements with sturdy covers. For me, I just finished doing that. It took me 4 days. It's like 4 days to clean everything, cover everything, put them away. And in the spring, it's another 4 days to do the same thing. But I'll tell you, I don't have to buy new patio furniture or new pads, which are very expensive. Also, add some colorful coleus to your fall hues, maybe in pots, because there's a lot of coleus in the stores right now. Also, snapdragons, cyclamen, those are so great. And if you love the beautiful fall colors in trees, this is the time to visit your favorite nursery to purchase your trees because not only is it the best time to plant, but by witnessing them in their autumn splendor, you're going to get the colors and textures that work best for your landscape. And again, I want to remind you to protect the spiders and beneficial insects. Your garden will thank you. And my front porch right now, I have spider webs and they're real ones, and I'm not taking them down because they're just perfect for Halloween. And again, remember to conserve your pumpkin seeds, clean, roast, season, enjoy them as a snack. And just have fun carving your pumpkin. Sure, light your jack-o'-lanterns, weave your webs, erect your gravestones, dress up your skeletons you've been hiding in your closet because nature provides the imagination for a supernatural trick or treat decor. And I wish you happy gardening, happy growing, and happy Halloween. Well, that is our show for this week. I thank you again for staying with me on Star Style. Be the star you are. I love giving you, fun tips or some tools for living because I believe you can change your life, make your dreams come true. For more information about Cynthia Brian or Star Style Productions, and to buy any of my books, my newest book, Flap Forward, Fly Free, which is all about being brave and courageous, is available now at cynthiabrian.com. All the money goes to charity. Just click on the Starstyle store. You can also get the book at bethestaryouare.org. Again, all the money goes to Be the Star You Are charity to help with increasing literacy and positive media programs like this one and our Express Yourself Teen Radio. My aim is always to encourage, inspire, inform, amuse, and motivate. See beyond your physical being. Know you are already the star you dreamed of becoming. Cherish the past, dream of the future, and celebrate every moment of your life. And read a book this week because it's like a garden in your pocket. And until next week, when we will play again in the Star Style Playground, remember that love always wins, kindness always prevails, and smiles will keep us happy. My name is Cynthia Brian for Star Style. I thank you and I encourage you to do the following things: be kind, be inclusive, be brave, tell the truth, live with integrity, embrace cultures, love unconditionally, encourage others, be generous, read, lead, succeed, communicate, collaborate, innovate, and be your unapologetically authentic self because everyone counts. Go out into the world and be the star you are and make it a very safe and happy Halloween. Thanks for joining me, and we will play together next week. Happy, 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 happy. Bye bye.